Welcome to Project Chatter, the podcast where PPM experts from various sectors talk about the latest trends. Listen to Val and Dale as they talk about tried and tested best practices and share their unfiltered thoughts about the industry. Whether you're here to learn how to progress your career, improve your project control skills, or just want to hear an Aussie and South African rant about projects, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Project Chatter podcast with your hosts, Dale Fung and Val Matthews.
In this episode, we spoke to Josh Stone. Josh has a rare story, actually, something different this time. He's a director and shareholder of a $3 million engineering consultancy that grew into a $30 million engineering, town planning, surveying, and architecture consultancy with multiple offices along the east coast of Australia, here, homegrown. He now coaches hundreds of consultancy owners across Australia, New Zealand, and the UK through Ignite Coaching, helping them build businesses that are profitable, scalable, and genuinely enjoyable to run. He also is the author of The Profitable Engineering Consultant. This was a slightly different one. So we went on the business side of consulting this time, Dale, and we talked about how to set up businesses and why people don't actually charge what they should be for value, but also the environment and the market and what's happening in Australian businesses. But it was a very, very educational consultancy lens on projects that matter, which I thought was really, really great. So a good one for everyone to listen out to. So keep an eye out for this pod.
Yeah, I was really sad to miss it, Val, and really looking forward to listening to it back. So we won't spoil it for anyone. Well, you can't spoil it from me. I wasn't on there. But folks, as we say, keep listening, keep liking, and keep paying it forward.
Hello, project people. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Project Chatter podcast. It's always good to have you with us. We're running solo today, Australia only. That's what we're saying. But I've got a wonderful guest for all of you and an interesting topic too. Josh Stone, how are you, sir?
Well, mate, how are you?
I'm very good. Looking forward to summer. I can tell you that. Being down south, it's getting pretty chilly.
Too. Yeah,
I'm actually a bit jealous of the UK. They've got some solid heat. They've stolen our heat for a couple of months, but no, it should be good soon. I love what we talked about before we press record, and I would want to get into it as quickly as possible. But Josh, could you tell us a bit about yourself, mate? Where did you start? Where does your origin story start for this show?
Yeah, mate, let's do it. So Brizzy based originally. Went to UQ in Brisbane, civil engineering and business management. I studied. Got a job for a sort of tier one civil engineering business straight out of uni. About 3 years into that journey, I got tapped on the shoulder to go and work for a smaller civil structural engineering consultancy. Awesome journey. I got the opportunity to be a director and shareholder of that business. So bought in, we grew that from 3 million to 30 million over about a 10-year period. So in the end, we were civil structural, town planning, architecture, town planning, surveying, like the whole gamut. I sold out of that business and set up my coaching business now. And so that's what we do day in, day out, is help engineering, town planning, surveying and architecture consultancy owners build and grow their consultancies.
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. I mean, you made it sound so easy, but obviously getting to that level of success, there's a lot of grind in there. I got to ask a few questions before we get into the deep of it. What's your inspiration when it gets hard in business and life? Where's your inspiration come from?
Yeah, good question. I guess over the years, it's been very, very different. Like, I think about the journey from building something from 3 million to 30, it was hard. Like, there was hard and easy and fun at the same time. But at that point, it was family and kids, and I wanted to build something from a legacy point of view. I really enjoyed the work that we got to do with the clients that we got to do things with. But when stuff got hard, it was family and kids. And that is still, to this day, still a big driver for me. But the work we get to do now is more it's more purpose-led. We get to work with 70 odd clients now. And it's the impact we get to have on them in terms of helping their business, their families, all that sort of stuff. So,
yeah, I love that. And I'm with you. Family first is a great source of inspiration and motivation when it gets tough.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Let's do our first question. So how do you help these consultancies? Because obviously this is something you're very passionate about. You go in and you support them through consultancy. How do you get them to level up, so to speak?
Awesome question, mate. Like, I guess, yeah, we've been doing this a long time now in terms of helping founders and business owners build better businesses. Yeah, it's a number of different areas. Like, we do one-to-one coaching with our clients, so that's very personalized and deep into like their specific situation. I really love the community that we've built. So we've got a community of, like I said, town planning, surveying, architecture, and engineering consultancy owners. They get to help each other too. So, like, people will pop questions into the group chat around, I need help with this. Actually, literally on the weekend while I was at soccer watching my son play, someone popped into the group chat. I've just had a staff member do X, Y, and Z. They're exiting, but they've started up their own business on my watch, and there was just like 60 odd messages from our community about what to do and do this, make sure you do that. So there's a number of different ways that we kind of support our clients, live events, and then obviously the online training piece. So big mixture.
Yeah, brilliant. Sure. It's interesting because of that. We don't get often on this show, at least, consultants, so to speak, and consultants get kind of washed and branded with all sorts of words, names, maybe, Josh. And I think it's one of the hardest gigs in town. I think it's really difficult to, one, please the client, achieve the stuff that they can't do themselves, because obviously, consultants never get the easy work; they get the hard work. How do you then go into a company, an organization? Where do you start? Where's your methodology start to help them out?
Yeah, I guess we've got three core areas that we base everything off. So we've got like a bit of a model and a roadmap for helping consultancy owners grow. Simply attract, perform, and grow. So attract is like winning more work, generating more leads for their business. We do a lot of work with their positioning in the marketplace. Like, I think a big I'm going to say downfall of consultancies is they try to be a generalist, all things to all people, as opposed to like specializing and niching. So there's more leads, generating more work. Then there's the perform piece, which is like profit. So that's teams, systems, clients, that sort of stuff. And then there's the grow piece, which is like really helping the founder step out of the day-to-day, build their strategy, their business plan, delegate better to their team. So we'll always, evaluate their business through those three pillars. There's always a standout in terms of some clients come to us and they're like, they've got plenty of leads and work coming through, but their profit margins are at single digits or something like that. So it's like, okay, well, that's where we start, because you don't need any more revenue or work coming through the door. If we can just get you from 6% net profit to 25 or 30% net profit, you're suddenly making way more money for no extra effort on the lead gen side. So we always kind of dissect their business through those three areas, and then we'll just work deeply with them on only one thing at a time. We'll get that thing working and humming, and then we move on to what we call their right next thing. So
yeah, brilliant. I think it's particularly in Australia, it's an interesting time. I think the world as well, from an economy perspective, and a lot of companies are struggling. And it's an interesting take because we don't necessarily talk about cash and making profit on this podcast. It's something that a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about. I think financial education is a big gap when I speak to a lot of business owners and a lot of consultants and a lot of people who are genuinely trying to add value to the client, but don't necessarily know how to kind of monetize their worth. How do they get to a point where, because sometimes you get this feeling like you feel bad charging a client. There's almost like a shame associated with charging what you're worth. And I think that comes from genuinely good people, genuinely people with integrity who want to do good work with clients, but just don't know how to set up the pricing model. How do you go about that? Because that's a very interesting, even personally for me, that's a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, I think, and you're right too, mate. Like, I can't tell you how many clients that we have coming to us so we do a lot of like entry level questions around where's your revenue at? They can always answer that, but like, where's your profit margins at? And they're like, oh, I have to check with my accountant. I'm not sure where my net profit's sitting. And we do a lot of education around, these are the numbers that you need to be tracking in your business, and it's not just revenue and net profit, but it's also like all the other project stuff that they should be tracking in their business. So we do a lot of education around, I guess that we call it the metrics that matter, like the things that you should be tracking in your business on a weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis, just to kind of have your finger on the pulse. yeah, it's like a really interesting discussion, right? Because we can go as deep as you want, but like from a human psychology point of view, people do feel uncomfortable talking about money or tracking their money properly, charging variations to clients, increasing fees and prices. It's a really interesting discussion because a lot of the times, one, there's an awareness piece. So we'll help with the awareness around, as an example, consultancy should always be 30% net profit or above. Like that's just kind of industry benchmark. So you bring that to their awareness, and they're like, "Oh man, I'm at 12%. Okay, so that's great. We've got some areas to move there." But then, when you start to get behind the psychology of the business owner around, I can't lift my hourly rate from 180 per hour to 250 per hour and that sort of stuff. And it's like, well, why not? Oh, well, what will the client think? That they're not going to like me. They might take their work elsewhere. So there's a lot of mindset there around the financial piece too.
How do you deal with that? Because that's probably real, especially given the buckle down on the economy and less spending potentially on consultants at the moment. And I suppose there's still a need though for good engineers, for good civil people, for good consultants. How do you go about approaching clients when they've got a restricted budget? Do you train them, as you said you did, to education as well? Do you do that around how to deal with objections? Is there sales training in there? Is it mind shift as well? Can we unpack that a bit?
100%. So yeah, like I think, there is definitely the mindset piece. Like, let's tackle this from a couple of different angles. Like let's do the generalist piece first. Like I think getting clients out of that headspace of like being all things to all people, because in the generalist space, you are like, it's a red ocean. You're competing with everyone in that space, and clients are very price sensitive. They're just going to be like, I'm just going to go with the cheapest person. And so that's a very real thing in the consultancy game. So helping them go, all right, well, out of the 5 or 6 areas that you could focus on in the industry, let's pick your niche first. Like where's the space that you could play in? And we've got like a framework for our clients around picking their niche, which is doing work that you love, doing work that you're good at and you can get results, but also like doing work in a space where there are clients that can pay you what you're worth. And so the intersection of those kind of 3 areas is a niche for them. And so what we find is, like, we've got clients at the moment, one client in particular, they're doing about 12 million rev, 40 to 45% net profit, because they've just chosen a really tight niche. They're awesome at what they do. They don't go outside of that niche. They've got a great reputation for being the go-to consultants in that space. And so I think there's always good work to be had if you choose your niche, market yourself well, stick to your guns, and stick to a pricing piece. So I think it's moving from the red ocean, which is generalists, all things to all people, into that sort of blue ocean that people talk about, which is pick your niche and kind of know what that is and stick to your guns. And happy to unpack that more too, mate, if you'd like. But then the mindset piece is really real. So we've got mindset coaches within our coaching program that help clients just kind of go, well, what's holding you back? Like what's stopping you from increasing your rates? And I think too, the community is great as well, because people will pop into the community. Oh, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, and Z, and they're like, just do it. Like when we increased our hourly rates from 180 to 250, clients didn't blink an eye. So it's nice for them to have that reinforcement from the community who've, people have been there and done that, to help other people go, oh, well, let's just do it. No harm, no foul kind of thing.
Yeah, that's great. I think as well, we talk about value a lot in our business and with the community that I work with in projects and project delivery. And there's a lot of engineering practices in there. And a lot of the time when there's, some objection to cost or price, it's usually related to they just haven't seen the value. Do you do a lot around how do you describe the translation of services and value to a client? Is there something in that space that sometimes particularly founder-led organizations struggle with? They tend to become their own bottleneck, and then all the work seems to be only won by the very few at the top and not distributed across the team. Do you do a bit of work around value generation as well?
Totally. Yeah, I think it's So we've got like fee proposal scripts and templates and a couple of GPTs and that sort of stuff that help clients write their proposals. Because I think, and there's so much in the value proposition too. Like it's right at the start in terms of, you know, the marketing that you're putting out there on say LinkedIn or social media or on your website. Have you positioned yourself strongly in the market? From a value point of view, are you using client testimonials that like showcase the value that you've added to past projects so that future clients thinking about working with you are like, oh wow, that consultant got amazing results for that client. Maybe they can get those results for me too. It's in how you show up to, you know, initial coffee chats and meetings with clients. And it's how you put the effort into that new client relationship as well. So we encourage our clients to not just go to a coffee meeting or not just go to a sit down with a client and just kind of wing it, but actually prepare, like go into that conversation knowing things about that client's world in terms of like, I understand that you worked on X, Y, and Z project, and you had a consultant team that, you know, you were less than proud of because of these reasons. This is how we're different. You know, we encourage our clients on, for example, fee proposals to go, I've actually reviewed the whole scoping document and we think we can save you 200K or 400K, or we think there's an opportunity to get an extra subdivision lot in here. Actually putting that value in initially to kind of really wow the client. And then obviously once you win the work, doing that the whole way through. Because the more that you can add value, you're right, mate, like the more you can increase your fees, charge more, get a better reputation, and build a great business.
Yeah, we had an analogy which I think really sums up some of the consulting practices. We do a lot of kind of emotional repair with clients that have had experiences or bad experiences, and that tends to scar them with their future kind of prospects, or at least engage with other consultants, because, well, we had them before and they did this and we spent a lot of money and we got nowhere. And one of the things we kind of try and drum into our team, and I'm sure this is something you'll resonate with, is if you win the work, that's kind of like climbing the mountain, but that's only half the journey. If you speak to any climber, the full journey is actually getting back down to your car and home safely to your kids. So, you know, when you hit the peak, that's not actually the win. So when they say winning work, it's an interesting concept, because winning work just means you start the hard stuff. It doesn't mean you just drop off from we've won the work and we'll just continue on. And I think there's some education that's needed in that space, just from some of the conversations that I've had around the park. You know, how do you talk about client excellence or client satisfaction or client service after you've won the deal? Is there something you do in that space in terms of mobilization and how to really make sure there's no buyer's remorse when they get the consultant in? And obviously that's a premium cost, but obviously the value of them being there is meant to be generating something for them. How do you get them ready and prepared? Is there something that you got a secret kind of nugget there for us?
Secret sauce.
Yeah.
I mean, you're so right. Like, even I think about our consulting journey, because I take a lot of what we learned from building our consulting business into like our boardroom coaching program. We were really successful. We were really successful winning a lot of work with big sort of tier one clients, because we would just, and I'll get to answer your question in a second.
Yeah.
Because we would play on the frustrations of those clients. So we would go into client meetings and go, look, I know that in the past you've worked with the tier one consultants who promise you the earth during the proposal phase. They put all like their senior people on the proposal, but as soon as you give the project to them, you get the C or D grade team member, the junior who's just started in the business. And so we did a lot of market research in the industry, and there were a lot of tier one clients that we wanted to work with who were super frustrated with their current consultants promising them the earth, but then giving them, it was like the caviar versus the cod kind of analogy. So we really played up on that in our marketing, which was like every time we'd go into a new client meeting, we'd go, we know you've been burnt in the past. We guarantee that you'll have a director on every one of your projects. We guarantee that this will be the team, and the team that, you know, are on the proposal will be on your project for the lifetime. And we won a lot of really good work by just actually doing what we said we would do, which is have a director on a project, and not, the cod versus the caviar sort of thing. So, So I think sometimes, just understanding your client's pain and frustration and using that in your marketing, your conversations, all that sort of stuff helps you get new clients across the line. From a delivery point of view, there's so much you can do and so much that we teach, like even simple things like project handovers within the team. Like if you've got a bit of a sales team within the business who are winning the work, bringing that through to actually the proper handover to the delivery team, or if you've got a team leader who has won the work, making sure that everyone is super across the scope, having a proper kickoff meeting where the client's actually involved, and going through the scope items. This is our understanding of the proposal, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Here's how we're going to deliver it for you. Here's the timelines. So getting the client involved very early in the project, and so they're very across your scope, your deliverables, and what you're going to do. Simple things like weekly updates to the clients. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, here's what we got done this week. Here's what we're planning on doing next week. So the client is fully across, kind of what you're doing. Mate, there's so much, like having like a proper focus at a team leader or director level on each of those client relationships, and calling them just to check in for no other reason than just to check in. Like a lot of the times clients, see your name on the phone come up and they're like, oh, what's the problem now? Because most clients are conditioned to only get a call when there's a problem on a project. But if you condition your client to go, no, there's no problem. I'm just calling to check in and give you an update on the project. Is there anything else that we can help you with? You're just shifting your client's perception of you from someone who's going to solve their problems for them. So we can unpack it. There's so much you can do from a client relationship point of view.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I think as well, but before we get into some more of the detail, it's interesting to know how you can set up companies in different structures in different ways. And do you personally work with more founder-led organizations, or kind of more established with a C-suite and a board and that kind of thing, or a bit of a mix?
Typically, so we work in that sort of 0 to 10 to 12 mil space, so up to sort of 60 to 80 staff, so that our bigger clients are getting into that space where they might have 3 or 4 directors, they might have a marketing manager, a general manager, and ops, that sort of stuff. We don't tend to go into that big, like our business at 30 million was that C-suite, was the board, then all the advisors, the external parties, all that sort of thing. We just kind of work in that sort of that space from sort of 0 to sort of 12 million, but it's all founder led. Yeah. So it's pretty much, we work day in, day out with founders on how to build a better business.
That's fantastic. And I would love to know your kind of insight. What is the themes from working with founders? You've been working with them for some time. You were a founder yourself, so you've come through the ranks and come out the other side still alive. I know a lot of founders have a lot of pressure, which is sometimes not seen by the clients and definitely not by the community or their staff, and they put it all on themselves. So it is a grind. It's a hard gig. I'm speaking from experience. But how do you kind of quantify the different types? Because there's probably different types of modalities and different types of personalities that become founders for various reasons. They're sick of working for their boss. They think they can do better. They found a niche in the market they think they can capitalize on. They're innovative, or they're entrepreneurial. So they've kind of got a really creative flair for some of the hard problems that are faced on projects and in engineering. How do you kind of categorize, or what are the themes coming out of some of the founders that you work with?
Yeah, good question. So personality style, like we've built our own kind of personality profiling software, and we kind of encourage our members to all do that so they can understand themselves better. Because you're right, there's like different personality styles who have different strengths, different work-ons, and I guess that's how we personalize our coaching too, based on that individual. But yeah, we see founders coming through. The main one was they got sick of their corporate job, sick of working stupid hours, even though as you become a founder, sometimes you work stupid hours as well, but it's for a different reason. But they want the freedom, the flexibility. They want to make more money. They're sick of being a number on a seat and that kind of thing. I think, if I had to kind of summarize, the biggest challenge they have is time. Like it's time and a perception of time. So they've come through, they might have started their business, they're wearing all the hats, they've kind of grown, they haven't really stopped wearing all the hats. So we use, Dan Martell's buyback principle in terms of buying back your time, making sure that as you grow, you're delegating roles and responsibilities to the team. You're removing hats as you grow, and eventually, from a founder point of view, you get into that space where you're only wearing the hats that you actually want to wear. And everyone's different. Like we always ask our clients, as we help you grow your business, are you a more of a technical kind of leader where you do still want to be involved in projects and involved in the day to day and have touch points on projects, or are you more of an entrepreneurial kind of founder where you want to not touch projects at all, just go and win the work, manage the numbers, manage the team, and build the business that way? So we always make sure that their North Star is aligned to the business they actually want to build, because there's nothing worse than building a business where you wake up in 10 years and you're like, this is not what I wanted to create. So yeah, it's really getting them focused on, as they grow, what are the things that they want to keep hold of, what are the things they want to do more of, and what are the things they should be letting go of, hiring staff, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I think as well, you're seeing a lot of a lot of people starting their own consultancies, and a lot of them don't pass year one. They struggle to realize that it's not a job, and some of them go down that route and they realize it's just as bad as having a job, because they become their own worst nightmare, which is they become their own boss and they stay stuck in the work, and it's just another 9 to 5 with a different label. How do you treat different types of organizations where you've got maybe a structure of 2 founders, a co-founder system, or you've got a partnership of some sort? Has that been harder or easier, or is it better to be a lone wolf and start something where you're the sole director and controller of your destiny?
Again, everyone's different. So yeah, we work with a very wide range of like just single directors, single shareholder, founder-led businesses. We've got multiple clients that have 2, 3, 4 directors, 8 to 10 shareholders in the business. It's like there's just pros and cons, right? Like I think some people love doing it on their own. Like they love being the only person they have to kind of report to, the one person that calls the shots, that sort of thing. Other people are like, no, I really love being able to bounce off other co-directors and have that, I guess, banter and camaraderie, and we're in this together and that sort of stuff. Because sometimes single founders can feel lonely at the top, like they got no one else to kind of talk to and confide in, which is why I love our boardroom community, because it's just everyone can talk to each other and everyone's got the same problems. But I think, it's just different. Like so for a single founder, they're wearing most of the hats. It's helping them kind of remove hats and focus on the things that they want to. For multiple director businesses, it's like, all right, well, we've actually got an opportunity here to split up the roles and responsibilities. So again, we're working with a company now, about sort of 10 to 12 mil, 4 directors. We've done a lot of work with them about just splitting up roles and responsibilities at the director level. Like someone's in charge of culture and HR, someone's in charge of, 2 people are in charge of BD and winning work. Another person's in charge of systems. So there's just pros and cons of having single founder through to multiple directors and multiple shareholders. And it depends on the person and what they want to build.
Yeah. And I guess how much effort they want to put in. I think there's a different level now. It's never advertised, when you talk to founders, that you may end up working weekends, you may end up working late nights. There's probably travel involved if you're a consultant, especially when you live in Australia. Everything's pretty far away. Plane's probably the only way to get there. How do you kind of temper that with success? Because a lot of people are very ambitious. They'll have a big North Star. They'll say, I want to be a $30 million company, Josh, and I want to do it in a year and a half.
Yeah.
And so tempering that with they're still working, 40 hours a week, and that's probably not going to get them the results they're looking for, especially in the early days. What's the difference between working with like early founders and like more mature founders? Do you see there's a different mindset there? And what is the theme from some of those early guys that you kind of break the mold and rebuild?
Yeah, there's so much to this. So we've got models for everything, because I'm an engineer and I love building models, and it's just easy to explain with clients too. So we've got like pathways that we take clients through. You got technician, business owner, which is like you're in the day-to-day of the business, you're involved, you're required to do everything relies on you. Then we help them go from technician to what we call conductor, where you're kind of more the orchestra conductor, you're kind of overseeing the running of the business, but not as involved in the day-to-day. Then it's getting them to either two pathways, which is lifestyle or investor. So some people come to us and they're like, I want to build a lifestyle business where I get to step away for 6 months of the year. The business just runs without me. There's a leadership team in place and I get to travel the world. Other people want to go down the investor path, which is kind of the path that I went along, which is like mergers and acquisitions, building something really big, but it's like, I'm building this, I'm investing into this business. So it's, and some like 5 to 6 million per year consultancies come to us and they are honestly back at technician phase. You've got founders just doing everything. And it's about helping them kind of go through those different phases. So, and it's nice to kind of put a label on that because a lot of people are like, I'm kind of in between technician and conductor. I'm almost a conductor. And it's like a game. I want to get to lifestyle. How long is it going to take? And we kind of map out a process for them to go from, say technician business owner to lifestyle business owner, which is typically sort of a 4 to 6 year journey that we tell people. It's not the 1.5 years that most people say, can I do it in?
Yeah. Yep.
And it is, everyone's at different phases. Everyone's got different kind of things that they've nailed in their business versus things that they need to work on. So again, within that sort of framework of technician to conductor to either lifestyle or investor, we've got different things at different levels that we help them on. So there's a very clear roadmap that, once you tick all these, it's literally a tick box. Once you've ticked all these things off at a technician's phase, you've got these 15 things in place. You're then officially at conductor level, and it's just kind of like a nice kind of pathway for them to progress.
Yeah, I love the terms. Conductors, it's really sticky, makes sense. Orchestrating and lifestyle as well. I think some people think they're going in to be lifestyle, but they really like what they're doing and they switch gears once they get a taste for growing something that they've created. And there's this, it's a proud moment to have something that you've created and it's generating, jobs for people, and you build a bit of a team and there's camaraderie as well. You mentioned some really good things around setting up the business so that the founder kind of had some flexibility to work on the business. What do you suggest is the best tools and tips for getting out of the day-to-day? Because a lot of the time, the founder-led is generally relationship-led as well. It means that, at least from our experience, that a lot of their work that they're winning is based on either their network or long relationships in the market or people who've worked with them previously, which means that they kind of want a little bit of the founder involved in their project, which means the founder is spread across maybe 10, 20 different things. And that becomes a bit of a stressful situation because they still want to add value, they still want to be involved, but it's a constraint to the business because then they become the bottleneck for any new work coming in. How do you talk to them about that kind of situation?
Yeah. And mate, that's like probably the most common thing that we have, which is to people come into our world because they're stressed, they're overwhelmed. Yeah, they're wearing all the hats. And so there's a couple of things that we run them through very early on. So we just call it free up one day and your ideal week trainings, which is really, we want to be able to help you free up a day a week to work on strategy, direction, and the forward movement of your business. And so that coupled with, we call it ideal week, where they actually map out their ideal week. Like if they could choose their perfect week, what would they be working on? What were the things they'd be doing, the things that they're not doing? And actually structuring their week too. So if they're a morning person, all your big picture thinking happens in the morning, then you're available for team in the afternoon. Those two things initially when we work with clients just kind of get them thinking more strategically, freeing up time and looking and critically assessing where their time is going. So a lot of them, we get them to do like what we call weekend review. So what did you do this week? Write it all down, look at your timesheet if you need to. What were the things that you actually wanted to be doing? What are the things that you didn't want to be doing? What are the things that you really shouldn't be doing? We call it the value and energy model. So what raised your energy? Like what do you love? And value, what's the highest value stuff that you're doing in the business? And so they're always coming back to that. And we're just helping them see that, maybe you following up on invoices isn't the best use of your time, or maybe you responding to your emails isn't the best use of your time. Let's get a VA or let's get an admin person plugged into the business that takes over your emails. The comment you made before about, I have to be involved in every project because clients have come to work with us because of me. is true, but it's also very ego driven as well. Like, every client that we've helped move through that phase where they're like, okay, well, I've got a 2IC now. I want to start to bring my 2IC along to client meetings. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, this is Brad. He's going to be helping on projects. You can very easily do a transition over a 3 to 6 month period of handing over that client relationship to someone else on your team. It just requires you to get out of your own way and realize that clients, yes, they come to you for you. And if you're still checking in with them every now and then, hey, how's Brad going? They appreciate that. But probably what they appreciate more is having someone that's actually going to pick up the phone, actually responds to calls and emails. Because if you as a founder are spread across 20 client relationships, you're not being responsive, you're not being a very good client relationship manager. And it's actually better if you hand that relationship off to Brad and your team, as opposed to you carrying it all. So that's a mindset piece, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you there. I think the other challenge, and it's all about the start of the funnel, if you like. And we talk about CRMs and consultancy is just your number one intelligence tool. How do you build out a sales pipeline, or even talk about BD? Business development, in a sense, is the same thing as sales in the way we work. But is there a differentiation between sales and BD? Is there a particular sales style or theme or model you practice or preach to these guys?
BD and business development is like, the lingo in the industry. We kind of discern between marketing and sales. So I say to our clients, because we work with our clients across 5 core areas, which is marketing, sales, operations, admin, project delivery, and then the big picture stuff. So marketing is like everything that you do to get the opportunity to bid on a project, and then sales starts once you're writing the fee proposal and you're trying to, I guess, take that from an opportunity to actually winning the work. So it's nice for our clients to have that discernment. So we work with them on like a lot of their marketing stuff, LinkedIn posts, LinkedIn content, a good website that actually performs. And then, once they move into the sales space, they've got the opportunity to bid on a project. How do you write a really good fee proposal that actually converts? How do you, like we talked about earlier, how do you really understand your client's world, their frustrations, their pain points, the fears, frustrations, wants, aspirations, to actually showcase that you actually care about that client to get the relationship across the line.
Yeah, that's great. And I think with a lot of the, particularly probably engineering as well, and Australia is set up with procurement panels all over. If you're doing government work or you're doing big heavy work, then they have to go out for 3 quotes, and you do have to get really good at writing these tenders. But you've also got to be on these procurement panels, which sometimes it's very hard to get on. It seems to be who you know sometimes, and they're locked out maybe for 2-3 years. It's very strange when you work with government. I can say that out loud, having done it for many, many years. How do you then position companies in that space where, to be on a procurement panel is part of the business development, I suppose? What's your strategy or gift there?
Procurement panels are hard. And you're right, like sometimes if you miss the cutoff, it's 2 or 3 years before you can get back on. So again, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like clients who come and work with us who are purely government led, and you've got different levels of government. You've got obviously local, state, and federal government in terms of the different types of work that you can go down. Some of the local government, like we've got clients who are very successful working with local councils and local authorities who, that is a lot more relationship driven. Yes, they have to be registered as a provider, but that's like you build a relationship with the person within council, and they'll continue to send work your way. Sometimes, it has to go to 2 or 3 people. But kind of the more bureaucratic you get, it is harder. So we say to our clients sometimes, when you're picking your niche, and if you really want to work with state government or federal government or anything like that, just know what you're getting yourself into, and maybe you want to diversify slightly and do some have some private clients as well that can kind of easy to get work from. You don't have to wait for tender panels or tender opportunities to come out where 60 other people bid on it and that sort of thing. To answer your question, you've got to jump through the hoops. You've got to have the qualifications to get on the panel initially. You've got to obviously meet the criteria, and that's just very like tick boxy stuff. But then it's like, how can you build a relationship with someone within that organization where, no, they're not just going to give you the work, because that's not how those organizations work, but can they give you a leg up? Can they give you some information around, look, if you frame your proposal like this, you're going to be much more considered than someone else. So again, it's all relationship driven. How do you build a relationship within that organization, so that person can give you a leg up?
Yeah, brilliant. Now, you mentioned it before, and I'm going to bring it up because we tend to bring it up every podcast these days. AI is coming. It's here. It's being utilized, some really well, some areas not so much. There's a lot of speculation of how much value it really drives. I think it's great. It's a useful assistant to have. But how do you see AI playing, particularly in engineering? Because there's going to be some shifts in how we deal with particularly repetitive transactional work, low-hanging administration, but transferring that to the client and value for the client. How are you seeing the kind of the space, the industry evolve?
Yeah, it's interesting, mate. Like, I think you're right, it's here to stay. We were talking about this before we hit record, like we run fortnightly, what we call AI roundtables for our clients. We've just recognized that, and you've got different people, you've got different adopters, and we see that even within our client base. You've got people who are like, I'm just going to tinker and play and just kind of fail fast, learn things, connect AI things together, and it's doing things for me in my business. And you've got other people that are just super overwhelmed and scared and don't know where to start. So we recognized that, kind of 6 months ago, and implemented these fortnightly AI roundtables where we just get our clients together and just we often do 30 minutes of a teach. So I've actually got one on later today where one of our clients, he's killing it with AI, he's just going to do a show and tell in terms of what he's doing in his business. And so we usually do like a 30-minute teach, and then we just say to people, I'm going to be quiet, I'm going to put some music on, and you just play with Claude Code, or you play with ChatGPT or Manus, or whatever they want to kind of play with, because just giving them that space to kind of tinker and play is invaluable to them, because they don't make that time normally. We've said to all of our clients, like, the reason we're doing that is because what's coming is, if you don't at least implement AI in some way, shape, or form into your business, you're going to get left behind. Like, you look at structural engineers, you look at all the repetitive number crunching and that sort of thing, and like, I really think in the next 2 to 3 to at most 5 years, a lot of that stuff's going to be done by AI. And if not, and it's already starting to get done, if you're not ahead of that or aware of it, you can have other consultancies that are going to be, who are AI led, outbidding you, being able to do stuff way quicker, faster, cheaper, and you're just going to get left behind. So that was one of the big drivers for bringing in these AI roundtables. But I also said to our clients, like, because everyone's on social media and you see these people going, I just replaced my entire team with 6 Mac Minis. Great. But I've just said to our clients, you've got to choose the values piece, which is, how do you want to implement AI? Like, if you want to replace all your team with 6 Mac Minis, cool, go for it. But you might actually like having that human interaction in your business. You might actually like, Sally at the front desk who's doing X, Y, and Z, and you might just want to speed up their roles. So I think you've got to, with AI, you've got to stop and look at the values piece. How do you want to implement it into your business? And it's not just kind of following the trend, which is replacing everyone with an agent. And then once you've got the values piece, then you can move forward. How do I want to use it in my business? So I think it's multifaceted for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think in particularly the digital engineering space, things like CAD drawings and 4D, that's going to be very interesting. I think as well, engineers have always resorted to email and Excel in some form or fashion, right? It's just been the easiest way to communicate, but maybe that's where we're going to see the bridge in AI providing, context and provide it a little bit faster. I think the efficiency gains, like you said, 100% is what I see AI providing. It's a stable platform now. I think we've kind of passed the concern of trust. I think it's getting to a point where it's very reasonable. It can understand context a lot better than even a year ago, Josh. We were, it was bizarre. And now the image generation, the video generation is phenomenal. I've never seen anything come out as fast as this in the industry. Have you?
No, it's like, and I think that's the bit that, like, if I look at this, the breakdown of our clients, I reckon 5 to 10% of them are like just embracing it, spending too much money on coins on various platforms, building their own little apps and stuff. But I would say the vast majority of our client base are a little bit just like, this has moved so quickly that I don't trust it. And I think that's the bit that concerns me. So that's why we want to have them at least exposed to it so that we can help them keep up. Just simple things like connecting their email accounts to, say, Claude and getting Claude to go into their emails every day and summarize things. These are the ones that you need to respond to, all that sort of stuff. It's just little time savers that are, now pretty simple to set up. And if we just show them a step-by-step, they can implement that. And, they're ahead, which is great.
Yeah, no, I really believe there's something there to that. How do you use AI, Josh? Is there particular tools that you use yourself personally? Because it's always interesting to see how people use different tools for different things and where the value is for them.
So we're going through a journey at the moment. I every day use Whisperflow and Claude for just copy, content creation, and just like I can speak a lot faster than I can type, which is great. We're going through a journey at the moment where we're looking at MCP servers, connecting Claude to really help like the coaches in our organization. So as an example, like our coaches will get sent a daily summary to say, hey, these are your one-to-one calls coming up today. Here's a summary of the last 6 months worth of your coaching conversations. Here's what they said they would do last time you caught up. Make sure you touch on this, and this, because we are a human. We have a brain. We sometimes forget stuff. So if we can like load up our coaches before their one-to-one session with like all the big things that client has spoken about or wanted to do over the last 6 months, our coaches just go into those coaching sessions going, yeah, let's stick to big picture. These are the things that you're working on. Makes our coaching sessions with our clients so much more impactful, so much more meaningful. Recording gets saved, downloaded, saved to their folder, and the cycle just repeats. So there's lots of stuff like that we're doing, just that means that our team, like our coaches, can focus on what they love, which is coaching. They don't have to do much of the admin stuff. And it means our clients get such a better result too. So.
Oh, that's brilliant, Josh. And look, if you've spent a good 45 minutes talking about consulting and how you can change your mindset, and it sounds like there's a theme coming out of this, is adapt, become niche, work on your mindset, build a community. It's interesting that there's a different context out there. If you want to build a lifestyle, or if you want to then become a big investor and grow the company, there's different ways you can do that. But ultimately, it's a fun but hard job. Is that a fair summary, Josh?
Yeah, we try and make it as fun as possible. I think sometimes clients can make things harder than they need to be. So it's just kind of shining a spotlight on the areas that they're making too hard for themselves in their business and going, you know what, that could actually be a lot easier. Let's help with that. So, but yeah, we try and have fun along the way. We do 3 live events a year. So we get our clients together. We just did Palm Cove in North Queensland, which was amazing. So yeah, there's just trying to make the business journey as fun as possible.
Excellent. Well, Josh, anything else to leave our listeners with as we head to the end of the pod?
I don't know, mate. I think anything's possible. Like in terms of the life and the business that you want to build, it's just like, that North Star, having a very clear direction and recognizing that sometimes you have to get out of your own way to build that North Star. And yeah, that self-awareness piece is key too. So.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, Josh Stone, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate, and a different topic completely. So this is a really good one for listeners to check out. Folks, that's all we have for today. Thank you for your time. We say keep liking, keep sharing, and keep paying it forward. From me and not Dale, because Dale is not here. It's bye for now. Thank you very much.